positive news coming on that front. So 1.2% higher is where the Nifty Real Estate Index is trading at. But moving from there on, let's quickly take a look, at JK Paper. In fact, that has been one of the topics that have come in as recommendations from a lot of analysts over the last couple of trading sessions. On the back of a strong set of numbers, the stock is seeing gains of almost 2.5–3% in trade. If you could just quickly pull up a 3-month chart or a YTD chart as well to see the kind of performance, because it's not only JK Paper, you have the other paper stocks also which are buzzing in trade. On the last 3 months, though, the stock is down around 25–26%. On the back of better prospects, you are seeing some buying opportunities that are emerging in these counters. YTD basis as well, around 11–12% is the kind of cut that we've seen on this one. If we can just quickly pull up Orient Paper, Yash Paper, these are West Coast Paper as well, because these have been stocks that we have been constantly discussing with our guests as well. There you go, a pretty marginal move that we are seeing. But let me welcome in Kumaraswamy, who's the CFO at JK Paper. Welcome to the show, Mr. Kumaraswamy. To start off with, firstly, a spectacular set of numbers that we've seen this time around. If you see in terms of the profits, which are up 71%, margins at 28.3% versus a 19.4%. Revenues have seen a growth of a 10% move. Now, what is it that has led to this kind of an up move in terms of profitability as well as margins? Because clearly, the growth in terms of the bottom line has clearly outmastered the growth in terms of the top line.
Yeah, that's right. See, there are two things which have contributed to better performance. Of course, the markets, as you know, the last few quarters have been pretty good in terms of price realizations. Also, although we see some softening in quoted paper now, the markets have been good. And apart from that, we have, by way of continuing farm forestry programs, we're able to affect many economies there and get some better prices. And we've had some benefits even in power and coal in terms of reducing our consumptions. So there have been some cost optimization and some amount of uptick in the end prices. And our interest costs also have come down. So all of which has contributed to this better profitability.
Okay. Apart from that, if you could just help us understand, how have realizations been? As you said, the realizations have been strong. You've seen an improvement. In absolute terms or in percentage terms, how much has been the improvement?
We'll talk about the percentages. If you're talking about the preceding quarter, there's been about 4% uptick in the prices and better in terms of quoted, but which has since started declining, and about 3–4% in the copier and the packaging board prices. So
okay.
That's been the price tick.
Right. But a net impact in terms of realizations, how has that been?
In terms of net realization compared to the preceding quarters, about 4% on the company as a whole, which will also include a little bit of a mix variations. We got better and better mix. As the market grows, we also grow. And some amount of effect will be there because of mix also.
Okay. Apart from that, if you could just help us understand, going ahead, what is the price trend looking like for both coated and uncoated?
Coated has been softening, and I think there will be a little more softening before it stabilizes. Uncoated for the last 3 months has been fairly stable, and we do expect it to be at that kind of level for some more time. Unless fresh quantities come into the market or some imports are coming in, we don't see much of an impact there. And of course, as you know, November last year, the government also imposed some kind of a minimum price at which this copier can be imported into India, $855. So that gives some kind of a cushion in terms of competition from imports.
Okay. So is this going to have any impact on your margins?
No, whatever the margin impact had to come from that move has probably already started reflecting in our P&L. But the margin improvements will have to come from better operating efficiencies, operating the machines at better capacity utilizations, and chemicals and coal also. Coal has been the last about a month and a half. The supplies of coal have increased and eased up. As you know, there was some pressure on coal supplies 3–6 months before because most of the coal was rerouted to the power sector. That has eased up quite a bit, so we are getting our linkage coal and all on time. In fact, maybe even making up for the backlog. So that will have some positive impact on us, and some of the chemicals also, which is internally processed like lime, we are getting some better economies now.
So with all the economies of scale that are playing out for you, help me understand, will Q4 as a quarter be better in comparison to Q3? And if yes, what's the kind of improvement that we see?
Q4, we have to take a shut, statutory shut for the boiler and, boilers. That will be for about 9 days as has been planned. So I cannot talk about, numbers in absolute terms. But if you look at the trends in prices and trends in cost margins, etc., the current, buoyant status should at least hold for the next one quarter.
Okay. And apart from that, with regards to where, the timely capacity expansion through brownfield expansion at CPM Gujarat is concerned, how much is the kind of revenue contribution you're seeing from there, as well as with regards to acquisition of Sirpur paper, what is the growth expectation on that front?
See, Sirpur, we took a test run on the 7th of February, and, the machine will go into production by, let's say, late March or something. And one more machine is due to come up in April, one more in June and September. It will be phased out. By, let's say, September or something, we should be having about 140,000 tons capacity running. But obviously, initially during the first, 6 months or so, it will run at much lesser capacity and slowly ramp up. But as you would appreciate, Sirpur, owned by a subsidiary, so it will only be consolidated. It will not be in the main company of JK Paper itself. And as far as the CPM board project expansion is concerned, we are in advanced stages of getting to finalize the order, vendor, and financial closure, etc. But for the actual quantities to come out of the machine is at least 2 years away.
Okay, and very lastly, the 9-day shutdown that you mentioned in the fourth quarter of FY19, by how much will it impact your volumes?
Volumes will be proportionate basis because we have not much stocks. We are not carrying much stocks in any of our plants. So 9-day shut will be almost out of 92 days. Whatever is the quarterly quantities, there will be a corresponding impact.
Right. All right, Mr. Kumaraswamy. Pleasure speaking to you. And that's the word coming in from the management. But overall, it's mainly cost optimization that is aiding profitability. Going ahead, the stock is well seeing gains of around 2.5%. But moving on, as we slip into a short break, let's hear out what KN